years since the Suns made a finals appearance. For the Bucks, 47 years, and their franchise player returns tonight.
Heaven now on earth, half a million on the watch. 3 bands on the sweater just to let it watch.
Fires up a three. It's good. And the foul. Chris Paul has taken control of game 1.
You can send it Bitcoin down and dribble it with stock.
Paul on the drive. Count it and one. Chris Paul's first finals game has been a brilliant performance.
He's Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. Tell the people what it is we do.
We get the people what they want.
Joining us later on in the show, O'Shea Jackson, better known as Ice Cube, will get his thoughts on the NBA Finals, the Lakers offseason, and much more. But Jalen, we start with tonight's game. It is game 2 between the Suns and the Bucks. The Bucks looking to even the series at 1-1. The Suns impressed in game 1. What adjustments do the Bucks need to make to take game 2?
Wow, that's an important question, David Jacoby. You're going straight for the jugular with that one. The Bucks must do a better job of getting points in the paint. Layups and dunks by Giannis. Post-ups and jump hooks by Lopez. Post moves by Bobby Portis. I want to tell you guys the secret. Saric is going to be out for the series. He has a knee injury. DeAndre Ayton has been fantastic this postseason. It's been a coming out party. But you know who their backup center is? Frank Kaminsky. You got to find a way to get DeAndre Ayton in foul trouble. You have to continue to attack him. You got to continue to make him work. And also, where's Jrue Holiday? You know how much I'm a fan of his game, and I know that's one of your favorite players. He's going to bring defense, and you pay attention to both ends of the floor. I don't. He's going to get assists. That's awesome. But you know what they're going to need? His points. The big three of Phoenix had 81 in game 1. They're going to need Jrue Holiday to score the ball. And for anybody out there that's saying, oh, Giannis is back, that's going to affect his productivity. No, it's not. No, it's not at all. They can do actions together. He can do one-on-one actions on either side of the floor. He has a post game for his size. He just has to be aggressive. Those have to be the adjustments. Points in the paint for the Bucks and aggression by Jrue Holiday.
Jalen, you brought up a really good point that I think is going over a lot of people's heads. Dario Saric is no longer available. Now, Dario Saric is not a huge household name, but he is a contributor for this team, and he's not going to be available for the rest of the series, and that could impact them. And when you talk about getting Ayton in foul trouble, that's what I thought that Jokic would do. That's what I thought that Giannis Lopez would do. He, for a young player, does a really good job of not getting in foul trouble. But again, if they can get him off the floor, you're going to see a lot of Frank Kaminsky. And if you get him off the floor, you don't have that role man that he's really turned into in his professional career. And when we're talking about the pick and roll, that to me is one of the biggest adjustments. When you look at the numbers of how the Bucks have guarded the pick and roll, whether or not they have dropped or whether or not they have switched, it seems like the more they switch, the more they get cooked when you look at the numbers. And again, Chris Paul is playing with his food in this pick and roll. He kind of just gets whatever he wants to wherever he wants, specifically that elbow jump shot that he loved, his little pet shot. He's been hitting threes in game 1, but you made a good point yesterday. You know I don't like to compliment you. You got to turn him into somebody that finishes at the rim. You got to turn Chris Paul into somebody who finishes at the rim, because he'll stop at the elbow and he'll shoot that step back easily. But you turn him into that, that's going to be effective. One of the stories of game 1 was how many times the Suns got to the line at home. Coach Bud talked about that. Let's listen to the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks.
I mean, it's a huge part of the game. You know, they have 25 points from the free throw line. You know, we're a team that prides ourselves in defending and being able to be good defensively without fouling. I can't remember the last time a team got 25 free throws in a game against the Bucks.
It was actually 26. They hit 25 free throws, only missed one at the very end of the game. Jalen, what do you think about Coach Bud's words?
I'm going to quote Uncle Chuck D. And by the way, Ice Cube is joining us. And do you realize the Bomb Squad and he produced Ice Cube's first album, America's Most Wanted? So what Coach Bud is describing, you see so many analysts like yourself, Jacoby, that are talking about how pick and roll coverage is being instituted, whether they're switching or whether they're dropping. Let me give you the B side of that. The B side of that is they do that to not send the team to the free throw line. That's the whole goal. See, most people are only paying attention to the ball handlers, either points from three or from mid-range. But you're underestimating the reason why they're playing that coverage is to save the big from being out on the floor and getting taken advantage of so he can do what I said. Do damage in the paint offensively, number one. Number two, not send them to the free throw line. That's why he's speaking out about it. And you alluded to something that's really important. You told me that Chris Paul was 36, right?
Yep.
Let me tell you what happens when you get old and you're playing basketball. Two things you don't want to do: drive and be athletic and finish at the hoop in traffic. And the other thing is fall on the floor. Those are two things you don't want to do. Trust me. And in all of these highlights, you're not seeing Chris Paul either have to drive to the hoop or fall on the floor. And Bobby Portis, let me teach you something. There's a term at the park, Jacoby, you're going to love this. It's called you reach, I teach. Who taught you that you was going to be at the three-point line and you was going to rip CP3?
Slapping the floor, like up in his pocket, 30 feet from the basket.
Let me give y'all some inside basketball, okay? Bobby Portis will never rip Chris Paul. Don't be out there reaching, dog. He reached like 3 or 4 times. Play solid, get in his hip pocket, and usher him to the basket and make him a passer. If you haven't noticed, Chris Paul has scored the most points in back-to-back games in the history of his career. He smells it right now. He's like, wait a minute, I'm in the finals? Like, I'm in the finals? I'm shooting this thing. So if you're the Phoenix Suns, that's exactly what you have to do. Keep Chris Paul aggressive, but if you're the Bucks, you gotta make him do something different in game 2.
And as always, we're going to talk about the big three for each team. But if the Bucks could get a couple key threes from Bryn Forbes, get a Connaughton three, he showed up a couple times. Maybe get a couple bucks from Bobby Portis. They need those others to contribute as well if they're going to game 2. But Jalen, during game 1, I noticed something that was the most important thing that happened during the broadcast, and it was these words from your former teammate, Mark Jackson.
My guy at lunch today said if he had to live it all over again, guess what he would be? A rapper. Jeff Van Gundy started spitting a freestyle at lunch with me. I don't even want to know.
No, you don't.
Why is no one covering this? Why is no one covering the fact that Jeff Van Gundy was freestyling at lunch? I want to get these Jeff Van Gundy bars. Jalen, you're in Phoenix. Can you talk to him about this? Can we get him on wax spitting the hot fire from Jeff Van Gundy?
David Jacoby, when the pandemic started and people needed to work from their homes via Zoom, everybody started to make sure they paid attention to their backgrounds. Look over your shoulder. I see Mike Tyson. I see Larry Bird. Oh, look over my shoulder. I see a Jada Kiss bus. I see the Ali Summit. We've been 10 toes down for the culture. So in other words, that's why we're covering it. And of course, Mark Jackson, who was raised in Queens and loved Run DMC growing up, and Jeff Van Gundy, who coached in Houston, who coached in New York, has bars. I like the fact that he's reinvented himself as an announcer. I played against him as a coach. Remember that. I played against Jeff Van Gundy as a coach. And you know what he was? One word: unhappy. He was just unhappy. And now all of a sudden in the media, he's reinvented himself. He has great
freestyles at lunch.
I love those guys so much. And you know what I like about those guys, unlike most dynamic duels that you and I represent in this game? most dynamic duels in this game were put together by the label. You know what I'm saying? We're put together by the network. You'll see Jalen and Jacoby front row at the Nets game. You see us champagning and campaigning together. And as a matter of fact, I ain't gonna even start telling y'all where we met. That we'll do that on the podcast.
Jalen, what are you doing? It's time to show me some Shohei. This is the most exciting thing that has happened in baseball for decades. Shohei Ohtani hit another home run. He hit 32 home runs before the All-Star break. Oh, and he's also one of the best pitchers in the game. Jalen Rose, he will be the #1 seed in the home run derby in Coors Field where the ball flies. What sort of a show do you expect Shohei to put on?
Heat up, weed up, bring it back. Come rewind. So as the world starts to recognize the greatness that is Shohei, we didn't just invent that graphic today. We've had it the entire season. Because let me tell you something about Jalen and Jacoby and our staff. We pay attention to all-time greatness. And we saw a guy that's doing things that only Babe Ruth has done in baseball. He's hitting home runs, he's striking out people, and he's an immaculate left-handed swing. You know, as a lefty, I appreciate that no wasted motion type of effortlessly power swing. Like if you notice Jacoby, he's a guy, unlike Mark McGwire, unlike Sammy Sosa, right? He's not necessarily looked at as doing it because he's so powerful or because he's so bulky. He has the most home runs already in the season by a Japanese-born player. I can't wait till the NBA Finals end. I'm going to go on the Shohei tour. I'm going to get a bus.
Follow him
I'm
like the Grateful Dead.
follow him around. I promise y'all. I follow that greatness.
Joining us next on Jalen and Jacoby.